Welcome to the Rocky Mountain MS Center's webinar series. This series is designed to give people with MS information to empower them to make the best choices for their lifelong brain health. I would like to thank the pharmaceutical companies who have provided support for this program. Thank you to Biogen, EMD Serono, Genentech, and Sanofi Genzyme. Today's presentation is about safety at home and work for people living with MS. Presenter Tim Seals will share his unique insights gleaned from decades of experience as an occupational therapist living with primary progressive MS. Tim holds a master's degree in occupational therapy from Washington University School of Medicine and a BA in psychology from Maryville University. He has been a certified disability examiner through NADEP and has been certified in Industrial Rehabilitation, Functional Assessment, and Work Hardening through R.M.A. This webinar features a lot of important information. If you missed something on a slide or want to hear it again, we are recording this webinar and it will be archived on our website at mscenter.org so you can replay it at any time. All live viewers will get the recording automatically sent to them. You will also receive a link to our evaluation survey. Please take a few minutes to fill this out to help us improve future programming. We'll reserve time at the end to answer questions from the audience. You can submit questions at any time by typing them into the Q&A box on your screen. We will answer as many questions as time allows. Today's presentation is for informational purposes only. All decisions regarding treatment and medications should be discussed with your own providers. With that, we'll turn it over to Tim.
Oh, thank you, Kelsey. Appreciate that. Well, hello, everyone. I hope you're not as nervous as I am right now. It's been a long time since I've been able to actually present. The COVID-19 pandemic really shut us indoors for a while, didn't it? Hopefully some of the things that we're going to talk about today you'll find useful, or you can adapt them. This isn't meant to be a one-all fix-all. It's just to give you ideas and resources so you can maintain your independence in home as much as possible. Prior to that, I'm going to go over a few ground rules first. Well, as you know, I was diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis in 2014. I was working as an occupational therapist in a home health facility, and I was able to work up until 2017 when it started to become an issue with patient safety and my own safety, to be quite honest. So I have been retired and been wanting to get back into this somehow, so kind of help other people that have MS, and hopefully that's what we'll accomplish today. I also want to let you know that I will be using terms like us and we, ours, things like that, because I am one of you. We are all very different people from the same family, and we understand how this particular disease affects us. We have a lot of other well-meaning people in our lives, spouses, children, whoever you find something special, but they don't really get it unless you got it. So hopefully working together, we can kind of work through some of these things and take responsibility for what we can. So the agenda of the day is going to be mechanics of the human body. I just think it's a real brief overstudy on how that impacts how we move about our daily lives. We're going to do some fall prevention at home and work. And actually, any one of these subjects can be adapted to home or work. Also, each one of these individual subjects could be a complete 45-minute seminar on its own. So I'm just going to try and hit the hot spots and answer some questions if I can. We hope to leave enough time. So with that, I'm going to go on to the next area, is basic mechanics of the body. Hello?
Can you share your screen?
I'm sorry?
Can you share your screen with us?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Let me back up a little bit. Sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, so I'm sure everyone heard what I had to ramble on about. If I'm in the middle of a sentence and I act like I've forgotten what I was going to say, it's probably because I have. One of the nice little features that MS has provided me is word finding difficulty. I might mean to say one word and say something else. So please forgive me. I know you all understand. But I think it's important to learn about how your body works and how that affects how you walk around in your daily life. There are basically three classes of lever systems, and class one is pretty much like the middle picture. It's like a seesaw or teeter-totter where the force and the load are the same, go in the same direction. How that manifests itself in the body is your head, for example. You have a load, which is gravity, and the weight of your head pulling down, and the force of your muscles to hold it into place to keep it from sagging down forward. That's a class one lever. So it's 1-to-1. If the force is equal to the load, it will be even. A class two lever has a fulcrum or a pivot point in the front part of it with the load in the middle going down and the force going up, much like a wheelbarrow. How that looks in the body is in your foot, in your ankle, for example. You have your muscle pulling up, you have the load of your body and gravity coming down on the fulcrum, and you pivot forward. This is the most efficient type lever there is. So that's a good lever to have. Class three levers is the fulcrum or the pivot point is in the front. The force or the load is in the middle. I'm sorry, the force is going up and the load's going down. Think of a drawbridge, if you will, how that reacts. Or your bicep. If you have your elbow bent and you want to pull it forward, it works like a drawbridge. So those are the three classes of levers that we have in our body. And guess what? 80% of the levers that we have in our body are class three levers. So we are already working against the laws of physics when it comes to trying to lift something. Another area I want to talk about is the center of gravity, which is really important to keep from falling. You want to try and maintain as much of the center line force as we can. And number one, for example, this is a perfect base of support for standing, where all the force, which is gravity, is about 32.2 feet per second squared, when you're trying to support yourself against, to keep your feet on the ground or your body on the ground if you happen to fall. But the center line is basically right down the middle of your body, and that's the most stable point. The center, number two, the walking base of support, the center line switches a little bit, where it comes down through the back of your head and down to the front of your abdomen and down to your walking stance. Moving on to the third one, the body center line, as you can see, is base of support with a walker. You want to try and keep the walker as close as you can to your base of support. The further away you are, the further that center of gravity is shifting away from your body and into other parts, causing you to, potentially fall. You don't want to have to try to chase after a walker. You want to try and keep it in tight and close as you can. All right. Fall prevention is what we're all here for, right? For us, the circumstances, the consequences, the causes, they're different for us compared to healthy individuals of the same age and gender. We fall more and are more likely to be injured by a fall. Why is that? We've lost a lot of muscle mass. We've lost a lot of coordination. So our base of support is thrown off. And we tend to hit a little harder with less padding than normal people. Also, compared to healthy controls, we frequently fall due to distraction, cognitive, balance, physical, fatigue, physical, or being overheated, which is a lot of triggers for causing falls. Fall prevention part two. I like this particular saying by Albert Einstein. I used to tell it to all my patients when I was doing home health, that people are like bicycles. They can only maintain their balance by moving forward. And I think that's a good analogy for us. We have to keep moving forward. Now, we need to stay physically active, plan a workout program that fits your abilities. You're not going to be able to do what the next person can do, or you may be able to do more than that person can do, but make sure that it fits you. And you're not trying to build muscle, you're trying to maintain muscle, okay? So you don't have to have a big physical workout. Regular exercise improves blood flow, makes your muscles stronger. Exercise also keeps your joints and tendons and ligaments flexible. Just so that we're clear, we have joints in our bodies, your elbows, knees, ankles, and all that. And those are all connected by tendons to hold them in place. Ligaments to hold them in place. And tendons attach our muscles from the bone to the muscles so that we can move those in space. So tendons are muscle attached to bone, ligaments are dense ligamentous cells that are flexible, but they don't bend too much because they have to hold our joints in place. Mild weight-bearing activities such as walking or climbing stairs, it may also slow bone loss and also help your brain connect to your body to perform those activities. Once again, try balance and strength training exercises. You don't have to do it a lot. Yoga, Pilates, and Tai Chi can all improve balance and muscle, but you can do those settings. You can do a number of things in a sitting position as long as you're moving. Try lifting weights, very light, or using resistance bands. If you've ever been to therapy, which I'm sure you have, they've been giving you the different colored bands, the yellow and the red and the gray and all those, and giving you home exercise programs to build strength. So my personal experience is when strengthening, resist during the lowering phase of the activity. Don't pull it up real fast and let it go down real fast. Should be a 1-2, up in 1 and down in 2. That initiates another phase of a contraction of your muscle. Use really light weights to start. You don't have to go out and buy weights or buy bands. If you have a 16-ounce can of soup, you can do just as well as a 1-pound weight. So look around your house, see what you can use that you would be able to move through space in order to help build some of that strength and keep your range of motion. But what causes us to fall besides gravity at 32 feet per second squared? Well, our eyesight, hearing, and reflexes, they're not nearly as good as they were when we were young. That's a natural aging process, but when you add MS into the whole formula, if you, depending on where your lesions are, depending on what your deficits are, they are going to result in potential falls. Certain conditions, diabetes, heart disease, thyroid, nerves, feet, blood vessels, they can all affect balance, need to fall. We call those I'm sorry, there's that word finding difficulty I was talking about. Also, I'm sure you've all been through this at one point or another. Conditions that cause rush movement to the bathroom, such as incontinence. Your brain says all of a sudden, oh, you've got to go to the bathroom. And your body wants to react to that as quickly as possible. But you have to think this through. If you just jump up and try to run to the bathroom, you're probably not going to make it to the bathroom. Okay. So just be careful. Listen to your brain earlier. If you feel like you might have to go, just go into the bathroom so you don't have to rush. Older adults with mild cognitive impairment, which I have, I'm sure there are several other people in my condition that have the same thing, and certain types of dementia are all high risk for falling. We all lose muscle as we get older. It's called sarcopenia. It's an age-related loss of muscle. But when you add MS into that, that seems to accelerate the loss of muscle mass. Problems with balance, gait, blood pressure that drops too much when you get up from lying down or sitting. It's called postural hypotension. Basically, your brain is not receiving enough blood to have you maintain non-dizziness. I'm sorry about that. Those are all risk factors for falling, is what I'm trying to say. So when you try to get up, and this is from my personal experience, this is what I do. If I am in bed and I have to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which I'm sure we all do, 3 or 4 or more times, whatever, I've gotten to where I always sit on the edge of my bed and count to 5 before I try and stand. And when I stand, I count to 3, silent count, and make sure that I'm okay, I'm not dizzy, and that I'm okay to proceed. I know it's kind of a little thing, but it really has helped me, because at first I would try and just get out of bed and go, and I would get dizzy and I'd have to sit back down in the bed. So yeah, just take your time, count out a little 5-second interval, allow your blood pressure to catch up with the rest of your body since you've changed positions. Because if you don't, those are risk factors for falling. Foot problems that cause pain, if you have a neuropathy or if you have pain in your feet, unsafe footwear such as backless shoes. I hope no one's wearing high heels with MS, but if you are, those types of things can contribute to falls. So what do you do if you fall? Okay, I don't know. You breathe. Take several deep breaths and try to relax. Remain still on the ground or the floor for a few moments. I mean, it can be as little as 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute, whatever it takes. This will help you get over the shock of falling. Falling is a scary thing. The thought of falling is a scary thing because you have no control over it. And whatever happens, happens. So when you fall, the first thing that comes to me is, am I okay? Or am I scared? Am I scared? Am I okay? Well, I was frightened, but I seem to be okay. I hurt a little bit, but I seem to be okay. Getting up too quickly or in the wrong way could cause an injury to be worse. I mean, if you just instinctively try to get up as quick as you can, you may have fractured something or you may have broken something, and that may cause the injury to be worse than it normally would. Crawl to a sturdy chair. If you think you can get up safely without help, roll over to your side, rest again, because once again, you want your body to sort of normalize from this whole traumatic event of falling, and allows your blood pressure to adjust. Slowly get up on your hands and knees and crawl to a sturdy chair or surface. It can be something that's not going to move or slide. Put your hands on the chair seat, one foot forward, so it's flat on the floor. Keep the other leg bent while it's on the floor, so you're in a single kneeling position. From this position, slowly rise and turn your body to sit in the chair. Once you get there, rest. You're going to have to try and rest as much as you can because your body is really going through a lot of different things to figure out what's going on. Get help if you can. If you are hurt and cannot get up on your own, ask someone to call for help or call 911. If you're alone, try to get in a comfortable position. Try to get in some position that it's not going to be intolerable, and wait for help to arrive. And this is really important, I think. Keep a well-charged cordless or mobile phone with you at all times, and arrange for daily contact with a family member, a neighbor, a caseworker, social worker, anybody, but have that information available so that if you do fall, you can make that call quickly. The emergency response systems that we all know of, help I fallen and I can't get up. These systems enable you to push a button on a necklace or a bracelet. Some smartwatches have a feature that you can use to call for help. Now, this is something that I did on my own. I have never seen this. I never recommended it to anybody, but it's something that I thought was a good idea. I practiced. I tried to prepare. If you're able, try lowering yourself or with someone's help to the floor as if you've fallen. Practice trying to get yourself off the floor and into a chair. Try this in every room. Now, I know I use my bedroom, my bathroom, kitchen, living room. Those are the ones I use the most. So those are the ones I practiced in. I wanted to make sure I had the things necessary to help me get up on my own close by in any of those particular rooms. It could be a chair, a phone, table, anything like that. Practice makes perfect, right? So I figured that it's a good thing to do. Like I said, I have no research or anything to support that, but that's my own opinion. So how do we reduce the chances of falling? Oh, wow. Keep your hands free. Don't try and carry something in both hands while you're trying to walk up steps and through a door. It's not going to happen very long. Keep your hands free. Use a shoulder bag, a fanny pack, or a backpack. Leave your hands free to hold on to railings, your mobility device, phone, whatever. This is really important. Choose the right footwear. It says try to wear non-skid, rubber-soled, low-heeled shoes. Now, when I talk about rubber-soled heels, I'm not talking about things like Crocs. I had an incident where I was wearing a pair of Crocs and I was walking in my house. And I have hardwood floors. And for some reason, I know why, my foot didn't entirely come off the floor. It sort of drug a little bit on the hardwood floor. And that thing just stuck like that. And I almost went down. There was a handrail right there. But I took and thrown those things away. You don't want something that's so gummy that it's going to stick to everything every time you move your foot. So that's personal there. Don't walk on stairs or floors. This is pretty self-explanatory, that have smooth soles or slick socks or anything like that. Try to wear things that have some sort of resistance on the bottom, but not so much that it's going to grab. Oh, this is so important. Stay inside if the weather's bad. I know that's pretty obvious, but some community services provide 24-hour delivery of prescription groceries. Friends can get that stuff for you. There are a lot of friends and family members, I think, or community memberships that want to help you. They want to be able to do things to make your life better. And we need to take advantage of those things. So try and create your own little community of people that you would rely on, that you would trust. And always tell your doctor if you've fallen since your last visit. Even if you didn't get hurt or you didn't feel like it was anything really bad, that information can probably tell the doctor that there might be something else going on, either with your medications, your eyesight, a new medical problem. Any of those things can help. He can look at the total picture because, like I said, our doctors, our neurologists, they are very good, very smart, and they know the progression of our diseases. They know how it starts for the most part. They know what they need to do to keep you independent, but they're not you. They're not me. So we have to take control of what we can manage in order to remain safe. Now is not the time to put perceived appearance over safety. And I had clients in the past that I would go to, and there was a wide variety of different diagnoses. Some relapse remitting, some primary progressive, but Alzheimer's and orthopedic injuries and things like that. So when you first get injured, you first get the information, it's important to try and get out of the dependency that comes with it, because that's really a hard shot to, I think, to our ego. It was to me. That's all I can say. So I have put all that stuff. I don't care what people think. I don't care what people see. I am trying to live my best life as long as I can and do as much as I can. So, and I think that that will help. Okay, I know I'm zipping through this, but like I said, there is a lot of information in every one of these categories. Energy conservation. Okay, how many of you, well, I know you can't answer me because, we're in a Zoom and we're not live, but I have had people tell me, I'll be out with somebody or something and they'll say, hey, why don't we do this? And I'll say, I don't think I can, I'm just really fatigued. Oh, you're just getting older. Or, man, I'm tired too, but we could still do this. Yeah, it's not the same tired. It's not the same fatigue as other people experience. It probably is what they think is fatigue, but it's not what we experience or not what I experience. So in order to preserve that, we need to plan it out. We need to prioritize what we're going to do, and we need to pace it, slow down. Sometimes, well, a lot of times, my body will outrace my brain, and I just have to slow down. And positioning is going to be really important to help conserve energy. Planning is very individualized. It involves taking time, and this is what it's taking time to consider what needs to be done on any particular day. Try to avoid doing too many energy draining activities in one day or a week. Kind of break them up throughout the week if you can. List daily activities and remove the non-essential tasks. What do I have to get done today? This is what I need to get done, whether it's cooking, whether it's laundry, whether it's anything else. Prepare the task by gathering all the items that need and spread heavy and light duties throughout the day or week. Now, prepare the task by gathering all items. This has been a really hard thing for me. I have decided what I wanted to do, where I was going to do it. I was going to sit at this table. I was going to do this activity, gather all the stuff that I need, sit down, realize I don't have something that I need. So I have to go back out to my toolbox, get a certain tool, come back in, sit down, and then later realize that I need something else and have to go back out and get that. So really try and think through everything that you're going to need to complete that task to avoid those repeated trips back and forth. Those are real energy wasters. Planning is basically chunky. And as I said earlier, look at the big picture. Make sure you understand what the end product is supposed to look like. Examine each individual part of that task, step by step, what you need to do. Think about the logical order of completing the particular task. What should you do first, second, third, etc. It gives you an idea, it gives you a plan. And for me, it's more motivating once I'm able to think about something, think it through, and decide how I'm going to approach that particular task. You have to create a timeline for completing your task, but be realistic. Don't say, okay, I'm going to cut the front yard, and then I'm going to come in, and I'm going to do laundry, and then I'm going to vacuum. That's not going to happen. You will wear yourself out very quick. Have a plan to help keep you on track. Put the time you will spend on each task, if you can, into a schedule. I'm going to spend 20 minutes doing this, then I'm going to take a break. And then I'm going to spend 10 minutes doing this other task and take a break and go back and do the other task. So kind of break it up, mix it up. You don't have to do everything all at once. And stick with the plan. I mean, a plan really is only as good as you see through it. Prioritizing. Okay, I know it sounds repetitive, but these are the 4 Ps. What is truly important? Is a task necessary to do now, today, this week? I don't know. Cooking or making meals is something that's either right now or today. You're going to have to cook at some point. So plan out your meals, plan out your cooking. If you need ingredients and you're going to make something from scratch, maybe just prepare all your vegetables first, or prepare the meat and then take a break, and then come back and do something else. Like I said, you don't have to do everything all at once. That's something that we all have to do. We all have to eat. So, and hopefully we can cook or use microwaves or however we do that. Air fryers, that's a pretty good deal. Laundry may be something that can be chunked until tomorrow or later in the week. Say, I have all this laundry to do, but this day I'm only going to do this much. I'm going to do smaller loads. Big loads are really, you have to reach in the washer, the dryer, you have to pull them out. And it's exhausting. I mean, it really is. It will zap your energy. So you do smaller loads, maybe more frequently throughout the week. That can help save some energy as well. I'm sure you all have the same problem. Don't overbook yourself with tasks that do not need to be done right away. You don't want to procrastinate, but that's why you want to schedule. You want to know what it is that you're going to do and what types of things that you're going to need to do those, and make a list of the true priorities of that particular task. Pacing. Drink water. One of the hardest things for me to do is pay attention to my body and slow down. These road activities that I've done my whole life, taking a shower, getting dressed, fixing a meal, cutting grass, or whatever it is, I have to slow down. I have to be realistic about what it is I can do and what I can't do and what's going to totally put me over the edge. The faster you try to complete a task because you're almost finished and you want to get it done, but you're feeling fatigued, you're feeling tired, you're feeling unsteady, don't push through. Take a break. I know I use the word break a lot, so this is not a drinking game of break. Every time I say break, you take a drink. But the psychological toll of not being able to perform these rote tasks you've done throughout your entire life should not be underestimated. I mean, psychologically, that can be hard. I mean, we all look at someone who is physically disabled and we can say, oh, yeah, okay, I can understand their disability. But for a number of us, we don't really look disabled, but we are disabled. So sometimes, your brain outpaces your body movement and you you have to remember to slow down whenever you're doing these things. Positioning. This is where it gets interesting. A physical example of positioning is it's to reduce the, musculoskeletal injuries. If possible, perform tasks in a seated position. Utilize rest breaks to change positions and perform simple stretching exercises. Once again, if you have a physical therapist or an occupational therapist or a medical provider, they can provide you with a home exercise program, a home stretching program. Take advantage of it. You want to try and keep your muscles as supple as possible while you're trying to maintain their strength. So frequent rest breaks to change positions or perform simple stretching exercises. If you're like me, you get involved into a task and you don't pay attention to your body and you don't pay attention to things before it's too late. And then it's all of a sudden, oh, I should never have been in this position that long. I need to change that. Environmental positioning, if possible, stay out of direct sunlight. You guys all know this. I'm sure heat affects you the same way it does me. It drains energy. If you haven't already, start using neck cooling wraps or other cooling aids that are available. If you must be outside in the summer or in the heat, stay hydrated, especially in Colorado. You have to keep liquids. I take a folding chair with an umbrella, and I take frequent breaks from standing. I have grandsons, and I like to go watch them sometimes. Some of those activities are outdoors, but I prepare for that before I go. I know what I'm going to need. I know what I'm going to take, including my hydration stuff, the chair, all of that stuff. So just think about it. These are things for us to think about, okay? I'm going to move over to adaptations. Once again, I could go all day on adaptations, but this is just some brief ones that I've put together to kind of help you out, help me out. I'm trying to remember all this stuff. Have at least one workspace that's low enough for you to reach when you're seated, okay? Don't sit at a bar stool or something like that. Have a table that you're comfortably seated at that you can reach pretty easily from a seated position. Use a jar opener for tightly sealed containers. There for a while, I thought for sure that these manufacturers were putting this stuff on tighter than it needed to be. Then I realized it just wasn't strong enough at times to get it uncorked or undone. So when I say use a jar opener for tightly sealed containers, what I'm asking for is really like an electric can opener. Try to find the ones that don't have the sharp edges when it's cut. It cuts from the inside, so you have smooth edges. You certainly don't want to cut yourself. If you use an extended lever to open lift tab cans, if you remember back to the number 2 lever system, that was the wheelbarrow. The longer the lever, the easier it is to move the load up on the front fulcrum point. It's the same with the extended lever to open lift cabs. So if you have trouble popping those tops, then they make them. They're very easy to use. You just put them on there and you have a lever to help pop that cap. That's very helpful. Use wide pans with a wide base of support. You can't knock over easily. And once again, I'm speaking for myself, and I'm sure other people can relate. I tend to drop things, or my clumsy left extremity tends to knock something over. So try to use wide pans if you can, or wide receptacles that aren't easily knocked over. I use plastic containers. They're less likely to break. Also, if you're pouring milk, or if you're used to getting milk or drinking things from larger containers, maybe try putting half of that in a smaller container, or have someone help you put it into a smaller container. Instead of buying a gallon of milk, buy 2 half-gallons of milk. It makes it a lot easier than trying to wrestle that 1 gallon container of milk out of the refrigerator. Moving right along. Once again, store food and drinks in small, easy to manage containers. And that you don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of pots and pans, but just try and find some smaller containers that will work to try and split up some of those heavier items. And put your pots, pans, and measuring cups on a pegboard if possible. That way you won't have to bend to reach them. sit when you're getting things out of the lower cupboard. Don't bend over, don't lean forward, because remember, the further you bend over, your center of gravity changes, and that force of gravity will help pull you down. And it's not going to take a whole lot at this point for me. So I have to really be careful whenever I'm bending over or I'm trying to get something off the floor. That's why I have some adaptive equipment, which I'll go into a little bit later. Okay. This is self-explanatory. Use two hands to pour liquids. I mean, you may have been, used to pouring coffee out of a coffee pot with one hand. You continue to do that. It gets a little harder. One of these days, you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to have hot coffee all over the place. So get used to using two hands. Use things to open packages, scissors, box tops, anything like that. Use electrical appliances whenever possible, like the can opener, and things like that. These are just little things that you can, as a side note, and I didn't put it on here, but I've always had problems here recently with the little plastic tabs that they put on bread wrappers and other types of wrappers. I can get them off okay, but trying to put those back on are really hard. So what I've done is I undo the plastic little tab, throw it away, and I have clothespins. I'll close it with a clothespin. It's a much easier thing, and it's not nearly as frustrating for me as to just clamp a, once again, clothespin on it. Thank you. This is an example of a fully wheelchair accessible kitchen. And I just want to point out some features here. If you can see that the cabinets are at a height, the countertop's at a height that he can get his wheelchair under. He's got everything in easy reach that has sliding shelves on it. So if you can't reach something in the back, you slide it out, grab it. He's got the microwave low enough he can use it. He's got the oven low enough he can use it. So this is kind of an ideal setting if you were in a wheelchair, is to have this type of setup in your kitchen. Now we can't all afford that, but I do have some resources that I've added to my presentation that you might want to find a pencil or something to write down some of these websites to get more information about this kind of service. Now we're going to move on to the bathroom, because we spend a lot of time in the bathroom, right? Well, I'm a tall person. I was 6'4". So a raised commode was a necessity for me. I had to get something that I could get on and off of without using excessive energy and balance. Raised commodes are, if you're installing a bathroom, if you're going to redo your bathroom, they do make taller commodes, but they also make taller seats that you can put on the commode. Anything that can help you get on and off without causing you to lose your balance will be effective. Once again, those lever-operated faucets, when you talk about the class lever systems, that would be another example of a number 2 lever. It's going to be easier to turn. It's going to be easier to hold on to rather than the twist knobs. Grab bars outside the shower and bathtub. Now, here's my spiel on grab bars. There are a lot of companies that make suction cup grab bars, and they're good. I mean, for the right people, they're good. If you're not a real big person, if you don't weigh a lot, make sure they have a good suction cup on them. But when you think about where they're located in a shower or in a tub. So there's going to be humidity in that shower stall. There's going to be humidity in that bath. And if that suction breaks at all, that bar is coming off. So if you try to pull yourself up real hard and it's got a little break in the suction, it's going to come off. I don't want to scare you away from them, because some of them are good. Like I said, if you're not a real big person, if you don't pull real hard, if you don't need to pull real hard, and you check them before you try to get up, that's one viable option. The other is to have them installed. And once again, there are groups out there that have grants to go through and help people with disabilities or older adults with these kinds of services. So I'll give you that information. Low or no threshold showers. If you have a chair, obviously you can't get over the lip of a shower. If you're dragging your foot like I do on my left side, it's a trip hazard if I try and pick it up and I don't clear it all the way. So you have to be really careful about that. A shower chair. There's chairs that they sell at medical supply stores that you can probably get them online cheaper. But that helps you sit down and take a shower safely. Because when you close your eyes while you're washing your hair, you're taking a shower, for me anyway, I lose my sense of where I am in space, which can lead to a potential loss of balance and a fall. So shower chairs are good. Handheld shower ones, what you would need if you had a shower chair. You would need to have something that you could control, that you could put the water over yourself with, and not have someone bathe you. You can bathe yourself. It's a handheld shower one. Bedroom, once again, this may sound silly, but if possible, use silk sheets, rayon sheets, other material that provide less friction than flannel or cotton. Because even though it sounds like it might be a minor thing, when you try to move, slide around in bed for your bed mobility, the more friction you have from the rougher surfaces, the more energy you're going to expend just trying to move around in bed. If you wanted to move over here, move over there. I went to some of the slicker sheets. It made a big difference for me. I use a comforter and I quit using a top sheet with it because if I get too many blankets wrapped around my feet or if they're in the way, it's just one more thing that I don't really need to bother with. So I just use the duvet, and it's been, for me anyway, a good way to stay warm and not have to worry about getting all wrapped up in different sheets. If you do get up a lot in the middle of the night, you might want to consider a bedside commode. That way you won't have to get up, walk in the dark, half asleep, all the way to the bathroom and back. A safety side rail, I'll show you an example of that a little bit later, on your bed. Can help you with bed mobility, staying up in your bed, keeping things stored and stuff like that. Use a rigid leg strap. I don't know if you've seen these. I've got a picture of one I'll show you a little bit. It's assisting in getting in bed, out of bed. Use a sliding board if you use a wheelchair. Don't try and get into the wheelchair without some sort of safe method. Okay, adjust the height of the bed to make transfers easier. So if you're on a high bed and you have a hard time going uphill to get in bed, easy getting out of bed because you slide right down, correct? But to getting in using a sliding board is going to be a lot harder because you're going uphill. Try and make it so that the bed is adjusted to the height that it's going to make that transfer almost straight across, if you can. Of course, power beds that can raise up and down, lowered or preferred. They can put you in a reclined position and all that. But once again, not everyone can afford that. So we have to work with what we have. And if that means lowering your bed, if you can, try that. Or raising it. It just depends. Continued. Once again, I keep that communication device close and charged. Okay? Because you may need it. If you're going to fall, in my opinion, it's either going to be in the bedroom or the bathroom, maybe the kitchen. So these are places where I would definitely try to practice. And as I mentioned earlier, and have a plan in place. And there's a lot of planning going here. I am not a planner. I am usually someone who goes by the seat of their pants. So for me to learn how to plan things has been kind of a challenge for me. I'm a very social person. I like getting out. COVID-19 has just made me a shut-in almost. And you have to have a plan if you fall and are unable to get up by yourself. Identify the first person you would call in case of a non-emergency fall, whether that's a family member, a friend, 911, hospital, whoever. Just know who that is ahead of time and have that information readily available. In fact, I would keep it on me. If you can, slide it in your pocket. You never know. Because if we knew we were going to fall, we wouldn't fall. Okay, we just never know. Adaptive equipment and durable medical equipment. Okay, I've got some pictures of these particular things. I've got a buttonhole tool, sock aid, dressing stick, long-handled shoehorn, compression hose aid, Velcro closures, and a leg lifter strap. Now, if you are required to use compression hoses, which you may or may not be, but I had home health patients in the past with different diagnoses that really needed to have compression hose on. And they were so hard to put on. But this device that they made to install and to put them on, it makes it so much easier. And I'll show each one of those and let you know. This is a button fastening tool. You may have seen them, you may have one, you may use one. I use it all the time. It looks like a large needle threader, if you remember those, when you thread that thing through there and put the line in and pull it back through it. It's the same principle. You slip this through the slit in your shirt, you grab the button and you pull it through. That easy. Down here in the bottom, there's a little hook. That's a zipper pull. So if you're still using zippers, you want to pull your pants up and your fine motors like mine, and your hand slips off or you're clumsy, whatever, this little hook will help you zip things up, your jacket, your coat, whatever. So it's a very handy tool and they're not that expensive. A dressing stick. This is probably going to be one of my next purchases because the dressing stick really helps you become more independent when you're dressing yourself. It's got some specialized hook attachments on it for shirts and jackets and pants that you can help pull on. And it does have that little zipper hook on the bottom as well. So that's a dressing stick. A sock aid. Now these are really cool. If you're like me and you're sitting down and you're trying to get your socks on and you're having a hard time reaching it, and it just makes it more difficult. You use more energy, basically. I mean, you have to try and save as much reserve as you can. So with the sock aid, you put your sock over that plastic structure, and then you slide your foot inside there, inside the sock, inside that thing, and you just pull it up, and it will just put your sock right on. It's a very handy tool to have for dressing. Long handle reacher, one of my favorite buddies. I always keep one by where I'm sitting because inevitably I will drop something. And rather than lean over and put myself in a bad position where my center of gravity is leaning towards the floor, I'll grab my long handle reacher and reach over and pick it up. Not only have I saved injuries, I've probably prevented myself from having a fall by reaching over. So long handle reachers are one of the things that I really do like. I recommended them a lot for my patients. They seem to really enjoy them. They're kind of fun once you get to use them, so these are things that can help you and be fun. Okay, I know these compression hose aids. I put this here, like I said, I treated a lot of other patients that had compression hose, and they are a bear to get on. But this works the same way as the sock aid, except for its compression hose. So you spread the compression hose out over this blue piece in the middle, slide your foot in, and you grab those things and you pull the compression hose up. That makes it a lot easier and saves a lot of energy. If especially if you don't have anyone else that can help you with those, because they can be very, very tight. So compression hose aid, if you do need compression, I would consider one of these to help put them on. Long handle shoehorn. Fortunately, and the other me used to play golf on occasion, and I always kept a long handle shoehorn because if you've ever played golf, putting on golf shoes is really difficult. So with this, it made it a lot easier. Now it makes it a lot easier for me to put my shoes on. I just use this long handle shoehorn, and it's pretty easy. I don't have to sit down, put my finger in the back of it, pull it up, and all that. It's a pretty handy tool. Here's that rigid leg lifter I was talking about. Now, this is not a loose strap. That piece in between the two loops is a piece of metal. So it's not so limp that you can't reach down, hook that loop over your foot, and then with the other loop, use your hands to pull your leg up on the bed or in the car or out of the chair, whatever it is that you need to raise your leg for. These things are really helpful. I have one. I use it, getting in bed. So I find it very, very useful. Here's a bed safety rail I talked about. These are, every one of these I put in for my patients loved them. For one, it's more secure. You don't have to worry about rolling off the bed, for one. Another, it gives you something to hold on to if you want to do bed mobility, if you want to turn, or if you want to twist, or if you want to set up. And if you look at how this particular person is sitting, that forces you to kind of get into that seated position I talked about before you get up to go to the bathroom at night. So you can just sit there and count 5, 10, whatever, and then stand, still holding on to the rail, count to 5, and know that you're safe enough to continue your journey into the bathroom. These things are really nice. They have pouches in them, so you can keep your remote controls, you can keep your phone, you can keep your contact information, all there, and your iPad, whatever it is that you use, right next to you. So really worth it. DME through Medicare, durable medical equipment. That's what DME stands for. Medicare will help cover durable medical equipment if your doctor orders it as medically necessary, and if your DME distributor, whether it's a home health store or a medical supply store, whatever, and if they're enrolled in a Medicare payment plan as well, they can help you with this. And they will help you because they're only going to get reimbursed if they're able to have someone use their service. And most of the ones that I've been to, they're already, they've done a lot of things for you, all the paperwork that needs to be done, pointed you in the right direction. So they're a good resource to help you with this. So you don't have to look at it as something you do on your own. Talk to your doctor, talk to your neurologist, talk to your PCP, find out where health supply stores or medical supply stores are, call them, ask them if they, would be helpful. So it's something to consider. I put this link here, and if you want to write this down, this is the Medicare government on what's covered under durable medical equipment and what's not, okay? I can tell you what isn't covered under is equipment for outside the home. So the funny thing is, they will help you get a scooter for inside your house. But if you need a scooter for outside your house and not inside, they won't cover it. So, but they will cover walkers, crutches, other mobility devices, a whole list of things. I made a list here, canes, commode chairs, lifts, patient lifts, walkers, wheelchairs. If you go to this website, that will give you a lot of information about what they will and will not cover. So if you can write that down, I'll leave it up for another couple seconds. And then, well, you can always go back to this presentation later. So full home adaptations, okay, for your whole house. You can install ramps into and out of your home. It won't be covered by Medicare. Lower the heights of the thermostats, things that you need to turn on and off if you're in a wheelchair that you can reach easily without having to get in a bad body position or something that's going to make you feel unsafe. Make sure everything is within reach from a wheelchair. And you want to, if possible, widen your doorways to accommodate a wheelchair. Zero entry into the home is always a nice thing. You don't have to worry about going over a lip or trying to maneuver over another step. And keep the pathways in your home wide and clear if possible, especially the routes that you go quite frequently from your bedroom to your bathroom or from your bedroom to the kitchen. Keep those pretty open and uncluttered. You can also put handrails up on the walls if you like, so that you have something to hold on to as you're making your way from your bedroom to the kitchen. Here's some resources for home modifications. Like I said, Medicare won't cover necessarily, but there are places out there that will help you. And I would recommend that you write these down, because like I said, a number of these places that do home modifications know how to get reimbursed. They know what they have to do in order to get the reimbursement that they require. And you don't have to do all that research. They know what needs to be done. So I wrote some local ones down here in Colorado, and I would go to the home modification benefit, Colorado Department of Health, this one on the bottom, and look at the home modification benefit, see what they're able to offer. It's just state by state. There are some groups like rebuildingtogether.org who have received grants to go out and help the disabled and elderly remain aging in place. So they're worth checking into just to see if they would cover some. It doesn't hurt, certainly to check them out. I told Tom, who's the guy you guys probably don't know, that I would just mention briefly about functional capacity evaluations, or FCEs. Why I figure this is important is if you're planning on applying for disability, or if you've been denied from disability, I would recommend getting an attorney that does disability ratings, okay? If they are really dedicated to helping their client as best they can, they will order a functional capacity evaluation. It's a comprehensive test, usually performed in an OT or PT clinical setting. And the clinician that does it's usually, like I said, PT, OT, it can be nurse in some cases, but the clinician uses a variety of diagnostic tools, subjective reports, and clinical observations in order to determine the degree of an individual's functional ability. So if it's done correctly, it will definitely show where you have deficits, which is powerful information when you're trying to apply for disability. So functional capacity evaluations are very important. They're not that, there's a few components to it, but mainly it's about a 3.5 hour test. But during that time, they're going to be gathering your heart rate on a real-time basis. They'll check your grip and pinch strength and compare it against normal populations for age and gender. They'll see how much you can lift. They'll do a progressive lifting evaluation. Start out with an empty crate, slowly add weight 5 pounds or at a time to see where your maximum is, your breakdown in body mechanics, how much you're struggling to perform these activities, carrying, pushing, pulling, same type of thing. They may also do some postural tolerance, standing, sitting, walking, reaching. They want to get a complete picture of how your current condition is affecting your quality of life. And you won't have to try and fake much of this. In fact, once you go and you do this test, you'll realize that, wow, yeah, that really does add to my story for my attorney to apply for disability. Using this method, using the attorney, I was approved the first time around. So I would definitely consider that, searching out an attorney that does disability determination. Okay. I'm going to talk briefly about some ergonomics here. Chair ergonomics. Push your hips back as far as it can go in the chair. Okay. Adjust your seat height so your feet are flat on the floor and your knees, ankles, and elbows are about 90 degrees. So it's a rule of 90s, 90, 90, 90. Adjust the back rest to about 90 to 110 reclined angles, okay, for comfort. Make sure your upper and lower back are supported. Use inflatable cushions or small pillows if you need to. If you have an active back mechanism on your chair, use it to make frequent position changes. Find out what's going to be the most comfortable. Don't just take it out of the box and set it. Kind of play around with it, see what's most comfortable. Adjust the armrests so that your shoulders are relaxed. If your armrests are in the way, remove them. Keyboard ergonomics. Okay, we're all going to be working on the keyboard. So you're going to pull that keyboard into the center of your mass, center of your body, center of your screen. Pull it close to your keyboard. Position the keyboard directly in front of your body. Determine what section of the board you use most. I don't ever do this, but on my research, it recommends that you try and figure out if you use the right side of the keyboard more than the left side, make that your center point. I have a small keyboard for this computer, so I just leave it in front of me. Adjust the keyboard so that your shoulders are relaxed. Your elbows are slightly open, not 90, 100, 110, and your wrists and hands are straight. The tilt of your keyboard is dependent upon your sitting position. So you've seen these keyboards that tilt up or down. That depends on how you're sitting. To adjust the tilt, you just sit in a forward upright position, tilt your keyboard away, negative angle. That gives you a nice, comfortable ergonomic position. I'm not going to go over palm support too much, but you should only use the rest palms between keystrokes. Resting on palm support while typing is not recommended. Avoid using excessively wide palm support higher than the space bar of your key bar. So if you have a wrist support or something, make sure that it's not so high that you're having to bend your wrist down to type. That's not a good position. If you've ever had carpal tunnel or a significant amount of carpal tunnel cases come from prolonged, sustained, awkward postures while performing typing. So try and be in a good position. If you do not have a fully adjustable keyboard tray, you may need to adjust your workstation height, the height of your chair, seat, whatever. The ergonomics of your monitor. Center the monitor directly in front of you and above your keyboard. Position the top of the monitor that you're seated at about a third. So if you're looking at the monitor straight ahead, with your eyes straight ahead, you should see about the top one third of your monitor, about 4 inches down. If you're having to look up, put your neck in an awkward position. If you're having to look down, that gravity that we talked about earlier is trying to pull you back down. So you want to have a position where you're just basically moving your eyes and not your head to see what's going on. Set at least an arm's length away from the screen. Adjust the distance for your vision. Reduce glare. I mean, glare is, you can tell by my lighting here, I don't have the best lighting, but I'm also at a 90-degree angle from the window. So if the window was right behind me, it would be even worse. Just kind of keep those things in mind, because when you have glare and you're working on a computer, it fatigues your eyes a lot more, which can add to your overall fatigue. Adjust curtains, blinds, those are self-explanatory. And you can get optical glassware filters, light filters, secondary task lights, things like that to help with your lighting. When you're doing source documents, if you're typing something for work, if you're typing a letter to someone, keep those source documents directly in front of you between the monitor and the keyboard. So you're not turning your head like this the whole time you're trying to type that thing. Use headset speakers, speakerphone to eliminate cradling the handset where you're like this all the time talking on the phone. That's not good. Frequent breaks, rest periods, and stretching. Once you've correctly set yourself up at your desk, no matter how perfect the environment is, prolonged static postures inhibit blood circulation and take a toll on your body. Take short 1 to 2 minute stretch breaks every 20 to 3 minutes. After each hour of work, take a break or change tasks. If you're done typing for a while and you have something else to do, go do that and come back and finish this. Always try to get away from your computer. If you're at work on lunch breaks, don't work through your lunch. Always try to get away. Give yourself that space. You've deserved it. You earned it. Rest your eyes by covering them with your palm. Once again, if your eyes get fatigued, that's going to add to your overall fatigue. Use correct posture when working and keep moving as much as possible. Remember, people are like bicycles. We can only maintain our balance if we're moving forward. Here's an example of an ergonomic setup. Now, the one on the left, is quite apparent what's going on here. The one on the left, the individual has no contact with the headrest. He is leaned way back in the chair, legs straight out in front of him almost. And as you can see his typing right there, he is resting his wrists on a sharp edge of the table. That is a no-no. That type of compression on your ulnar nerve will inhibit blood flow to your hands, cause your hands to not work properly, which they're already having issues with. So try not to rest them on any kind of sharp object. The one on the right the example is okay. It's not what I would have chosen, it's what I found, but his monitor is way too low. His monitor needs to be up probably another 6 inches or more, just so that he can use that 1/3 of the top of the screen while he's typing, okay? I highly recommend that you write this down. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA 1990, this website right here is a gold mine of information on reasonable accommodation, what you can expect from your employer to make reasonable accommodation for you at the workplace. So if you're still working and you feel like you could benefit from some of these ergonomic assessments or things like that, get to this website if you have access to a computer and the internet. go here and just peruse, because you can spend hours on this particular website, not hours, but you can spend a lot of time looking at all the different benefits that you may have under the ADA. Okay. It was revised in 2008, but there really wasn't any really significant changes. So it's pretty much inaccurate, but I would highly recommend that. Okay, I flew through a lot of stuff in a rather quick fashion, so I hope I left enough time for questions and answers. And do I stop share now, or?
Yeah, if you want to stop share, we will take a few minutes for questions. That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you guys for your questions. I will get started with a few. Just a reminder, if you do have to drop out, we are recording this and we'll send it out within a few days. We will also include the links that Tim has shared with us, so no need to worry about writing those down. We had a tip from one of our listeners, actually. Just wanted to share that Home Depot and Lowe's have a lot of the adaptive equipment that you were talking about, the share.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of places. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, yeah, do some research. I mean, it's you can probably find good deals on some stuff, But if you're going to use Medicare, I would actually recommend using the medical supply stores or someplace that may have contracts with Medicare that can help walk you through the process, so you don't have to sit there and figure it out on your own. So.
And you discussed a couple of different tips for getting in and out of bed. We had a couple of folks who are unable to get in and out of bed independently. Do you have any more tips that you want to share?
Well, that's a tough one. There are, not knowing their upper extremity strength, it's hard to, most things, if you're not able to get out of bed yourself, require your upper extremities to help you get into a position where you can get out of bed. Like the little side rail that I showed you, the little bed side rail, and you can grab onto that and help pull yourself up. That's one out. They also make a pole that you can put alongside your bed. I actually installed a couple of these for some clients. And it's just a pole that has spring loaded and it's very sturdy. And you can just kind of grab that pole and help swing yourself around and get out of bed. There's lifts. I would check with Medicare to see if they cover patient lifts. Maybe there's a lift system that they cover that would, like a Hoyer lift or something that would help them. That's a tough one, getting out of bed independently. But everyone's different. We're all different. We have different locations of our lesions. We have different socioeconomic. I mean, everyone is just totally different, but we're from the same family. That's a tough. I don't have anything other than that. I'm sorry.
Nope, you shared a bunch of stuff in the presentation. So we had another folk who was looking at purchasing a cooling vest. There's many on the market. Do you have any specific recommendations?
I do not. There are some good ones out there. There are some that have, it looks like a flak jacket almost, where they have pouches where you freeze these individual little freeze cubes, and you stick them inside your vest as you go. Now, it adds weight to you, so you need to consider the amount of weight that's going to put on you and how much more energy is going to be required to move around. But there are so many things out there on the internet. If you have access to the internet, please just keyword cooling vest, and you'll come across all kinds of things that might work for you.
Do you have any tips on liquid management before bed? Staying hydrated is important, but late night bathroom trips are difficult.
Yeah, that's a conundrum. I mean, because you want to stay hydrated, but if you drink, you're going to have to get up. What I have done is I still drink water at night. I just know that I'm going to get up. I just know that that's going to happen, and I try to stay hydrated. Sometimes I'll go all night without drinking anything. Hydration is important. I use a hydration supplement for my water that you can buy anywhere if you can afford it, if you can do that. I use that. It just provides extra hydration.
Someone said my hands and feet are numb and my fine motor skills are getting worse. You shared a lot of tools. Do you have any tools for things like putting hair in a ponytail or tying shoes?
Yes, tying shoes. Get Velcro. I mean, seriously, there are shoes out there that have Velcro closures that look like regular laces. You know, you just Velcro them closed. They look like regular shoes. They also have elastic laces for shoes too, that you can just tie them in there and leave them in that position. But when you put your foot in, they spread out enough to get your foot in, and they close back down. Putting bras on, I don't know. That's always been a lot of my patients that I had that were having those issues. It was a struggle for them. And there's not one particular tool you can use for that. There are probably other different types of garments you can use. If you go to a medical supply store website, see what kind of clothing they have available that has easy clothes, easy administration of putting it on. But yeah, that's a tough one, especially brassieres. You know, it's because you have to reach behind your back or put it on, turn around. Yeah, that's a common problem. And once again, if you research that on the internet, you'll probably find something that'll work. And hands, I can identify with the hands, mine are the same way. So.
Do you have any suggestions or ways to go about looking for licensed professionals and organizations that can help with evaluating home for safety modifications?
Yes, there are probably outpatient PT, OT clinics that provide those services. There are some clinics that that's what they do. That's as part of their service to the community. They will also do these types of evaluations. They'll send an OT out to evaluate. I don't know what those costs are. There, like I said, there are some organizations that are working on grants that might, if they're in your area, you might be able to call them and have them come out. But yeah, that's all I really know about that.
Yeah. Are you familiar with VA resources for folks on VA benefits?
No, and I should be. I should be, but I never worked in that environment. I was always workers' comp, or I was Medicare and Medicaid. So I didn't really do anything with the military.
Well, that brings us to our final question for the day, which I think is absolutely a great place to end. Can you just talk a little bit about kind of what occupational therapy is, how it can help folks, particularly someone who already knows the basics and is looking for help as they're moving into the next stage?
Yes. Occupational therapy is a profession that works on someone's, well, there are so many different sections of occupational therapy, but for this particular arena, the occupational therapist is skilled in pointing out ways to make your life easier, ways to dress easier. They can show you different techniques on dressing. They can show you, put this arm in first and use a dressing stick to pull this around. There's a lot of things that they can add to what someone may already know, because the person that has been through all that before, but now they're kind of feel outdated, their conditions worsened, or then there are new things you can learn. And an occupational therapist can do that. Home health clinics, have OTs that can do that. I work for a home health clinic, and that's what we did, is go in and work with people. And, they're long-term, they've had it for a long time. But as their condition changes, there may need to be adaptations to what is available for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim, for your time today. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Reminder, this is recorded. It'll be archived on our website. We'll also be sending out those links, the slide deck, and a link for our evaluation survey. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.